The soft Cape Town breeze swept through the open glass doors of the ballroom terrace. The Atlantic shimmered under the evening lights, and every table was draped in white linen and crystal glassware. I wore an emerald green satin dress, the one Daniel, my husband, had chosen for me. Tonight was our second wedding anniversary, and as the wife of one of South Africa's youngest billionaires, the guest list sparkled with CEOs, politicians, and influencers. But to me, none of that mattered. I only cared about Daniel and the way he looked at me when I laughed. His sister, Clarissa, arrived late, wearing a red dress that looked like it was designed for a runway, not a family celebration. She hugged Daniel first, lingering just a moment too long. My smile stayed in place, but my stomach tightened. "Happy anniversary, sis-in-law," she said, her lips curling into something that wasn't quite a smile. The music swelled. Waiters moved between tables, and Daniel kept slipping away to greet guests. I sipped my champagne, trying to ignore Clarissa's whispers to him, and then it happened. A cold, sticky splash drenched the front of my dress. My glass fell, shattering. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." Clarissa's voice was too loud, her eyes sparkling with something that wasn't regret. Every head turned. The stain was deep crimson like blood blooming on silk. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The wine dripped onto my shoes, and all I could feel was the weight of every gaze in the room. My heart pounded. Clarissa fumbled for a napkin, but her movements were too slow, deliberate. "Let's get you cleaned up," she said, smirking. Daniel was across the room speaking to a board member. When he saw me, his face darkened instantly. "Clarissa, what did you do?" His voice carried across the room, low but dangerous. "Accident," she said, laughing it off. "You know how clumsy I am." But I knew, and Daniel knew, that Clarissa didn't like me from the moment we met. To her, I was an outsider. Not old, money, not the right type of woman for her brother. I tried to brush it off, not wanting to ruin the night. "It's fine," I whispered to Daniel, but he didn't let it go. Daniel stepped closer to his sister, his eyes cold. "Clarissa, you've been pushing for 2 years. Enough." The music dimmed as if the band sensed the tension. "This is our anniversary, not your stage," he continued. "You will apologize to my wife. Now." The guests pretended not to stare, but the air crackled with curiosity. Clarissa crossed her arms. "I said sorry," she muttered. Daniel's jaw tightened. "Leave the table. You can either respect my wife, or you can leave the party." A murmur ran through the crowd. This wasn't the polite billionaire they were used to seeing. Clarissa's cheeks flushed, but instead of apologizing again, she turned and walked toward the terrace, her heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. We slipped away to the private lounge upstairs. Daniel paced. "She's been waiting for an excuse," he said. "Ever since the wedding." "Daniel, it's just a dress." I tried to soothe him, but deep down, I knew it wasn't about the wine. It was about respect and the fact that Clarissa had crossed the line one too many times. Downstairs, I could hear the faint hum of conversation, but it felt distant. Daniel pulled me into his arms. "You're the most important person in this room to me. If she can't see that, she doesn't belong here." When we returned to the ballroom, Daniel didn't take his seat. He walked to the stage and took the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," his voice was steady, "this celebration is over." A ripple of shock moved through the guests. This was supposed to be a night about love and respect, but I will not let disrespect live under my roof, even from family. People exchanged glances. Clarissa froze by the terrace, her wineglass halfway to her lips. Daniel stepped down from the stage, took my hand, and led me out. The drive home was quiet. I stared out at the glittering Cape Town skyline, still processing what had happened. "You didn't have to end the party," I said softly. "I did," Daniel replied. "Money means nothing if you can't protect the people you love." My heart ached with a mix of gratitude and worry. Tonight had just drawn a battle line between me and his sister that could never be erased. 2 days later, a letter arrived. Number, return address. Inside was a single sentence. "You don't belong in his world, and I'll make sure you're gone by next year." I folded it, placed it back in the envelope, and hid it in my drawer. I didn't want Daniel to see it, but I knew this wasn't over. Weeks later, I found out the truth. Clarissa wasn't just jealous, she was desperate. Her business was failing, and she had hoped Daniel would invest. She thought if I was out of the picture, he'd side with her. But Daniel had already seen through her. At a quiet dinner, he took my hand. "I've cut ties with her," he said. "Family doesn't hurt, Family. I realized then, the wine, the humiliation, the threats, they had all been her last attempt to hold on to a brother she'd already lost to her own pride. And me. I finally understood that love wasn't about diamonds or anniversaries. It was about the moment someone stands in front of the world and chooses you, no matter the cost.